The universe is a master chemist, but sometimes it decides to throw out the periodic table and start over. We call it the molecular tide. It is not an invasion of ships or soldiers, but a sentient, subatomic ripple in the fabric of the local reality. It is a wave of transmutational energy that flows through space like an iridescent sea. When the tide hits a planet, the laws of chemistry are rewritten in an instant. Oxygen turns to heavy lead, causing lungs to collapse under the weight. Steel structures turn to brittle sugar, collapsing under their own mass. Water turns to liquid mercury. It is the ultimate unmaking, a cosmic reset button that views the building blocks of life as nothing more than clay to be reshaped. Our colony on Krios 9 was the first to feel the full force of the surge. It was a vital mining outpost, rich in rare isotopes, but the tide didn't want the minerals. It wanted the atoms. In 48 hours, the moon had become a hall of mirrors. The mountains were turning into translucent emerald, and the very air was beginning to crystallize into jagged shards of solid nitrogen that rained down like knives. Conventional weapons were a joke. You cannot shoot a wave that turns your bullets into bubbles of helium the moment they leave the barrel. You cannot hide behind walls that are turning into flowing honey. To survive the tide, we had to become chemically immutable. We are the 5th Heavy Engineering Regiment. The Isotope-Stabilizers. Our gear is the most advanced industrial tech in human history. We wear Mark 7 anchor suits, massive 2-ton exoskeletons built around a central magnetic isotope stabilizer. These packs generate a high-intensity, localized magnetic field that anchors every atom in our bodies and our gear. It forces our molecules to stay exactly as they are, resisting the tide's attempt to rewrite our DNA or turn our armor into vapor. We move in a pocket of fixed reality. Our weapons are static beams, projectors that fire high-frequency magnetic pulses to freeze the molecular structure of anything they hit. I am Captain Miller. And today we are going to stand our ground against a wave that wants to turn us into dust. The drop onto Krios 9 was a descent into a psychedelic nightmare. The atmosphere was a swirling vortex of neon greens and violent purples as the gases were being transmuted in mid-air. The ground below was shifting, a landscape of liquid iron and solid light. Stabilizers to maximum. Check your atomic integrity. If your HUD flashes red, your skin is turning to silicate. I bellowed into the comms. The magnetic field around my head hummed with a bone-shaking frequency, making my teeth ache. Unit 4, check. My left arm is flickering, Cap. The tide is trying to turn my hydraulic fluid into steam. Unit 6, check. The ground is, my God, the ground is soft. Feels like I am walking on warm wax. We landed near the primary atmospheric processor. Our mission was to plant a massive magnetic anchor at the moon's core tap to stabilize the entire moon before it dissolved into a cloud of gas. As we stepped off the landing craft, the molecular tide hit us. It wasn't a wind or a sound. It was a sensation of deep molecular nausea. I watched as the landing struts of our ship, which were not protected by a stabilizer field, began to turn into shimmering glass. The metal didn't break, it just ceased to be metal. Within seconds, the entire ship collapsed into a pile of transparent shards. Contact. The transmuted are coming. The tide didn't just change matter, it changed the people it caught. The miners who had been outside when the wave hit were now horrific, beautiful statues of living crystal and flowing gold. They were no longer human, but they were still driven by the tide's collective will to spread the change. They moved with a jerky, crystalline crunching sound, their bodies refracting the neon light of the sky. Open fire. Static beams only. We unleashed the orange lances of energy. When a static beam hit a crystal shaper, the effect was instantaneous. The beam locked the creature's molecules into a rigid, non-reactive state. The creature didn't explode, it simply became a frozen, lifeless statue of inanimate matter, unable to shift or move. We were carving a path of stillness through a world of motion. I swung my projector toward a massive entity that had once been a heavy hauler. It was now a hulking mass of liquid mercury and jagged obsidian. It lunged at me, its silver limbs stretching like taffy. I fired a sustained burst. The static beam hit the mercury, and I watched as the liquid solidified into a dull, gray lead. The weight was too much for the creature to bear, and it crashed to the ground, pinned by its own sudden mass. Push to the processor. Keep the field overlapping. We moved in a tight diamond formation, our anchor packs creating a singular bubble of stable reality. Outside the bubble, the world was screaming. I saw a forest of metal support beams turn into vines of soft copper that wilted in the heat. The air was becoming thick, the oxygen siphoning away as it turned into heavy argon. We reached the entrance to the atmospheric processor. The structure was ancient, made of reinforced concrete and steel. But the tide had already begun its work. The walls were turning into a strange, porous foam that hissed as it touched the air. Sarah set the anchor. Cover the rear. Sarah pulled the primary isotope anchor from her back, a device the size of a small engine. She began to bolt it to the vibrating floor. Suddenly, the ceiling above us transmuted. What had been solid steel turned into a liquid deluge of molten salt. Watch out. I tackled Sarah out of the way just as the liquid poured down, vaporizing the equipment where she had been standing. My armor took a splash of the salt on the shoulder. The anchor pack screamed as it fought to keep the tungsten plating from turning into salt itself. The metal glowed a bright, angry orange, but the magnetic field held. Cap your shoulder. It is thinning. Unit 6 yelled. I looked at my HUD. Integrity at 82%. The tide was pushing hard against my field. I could feel a strange tingling on my skin like 1,000 needles. My sweat was starting to taste like iron. Ignore it. Finish the connection. A massive wave of iridescent energy rolled through the corridor, a concentrated surge of the tide. It was a physical wall of color. Brace for impact. We slammed our boots into the floor and locked our stabilizers. The wave hit us with the force of a nuclear blast. My vision went white. Every atom in my body felt like it was being pulled in a different direction. I heard the sound of my own DNA screaming. The magnetic rings on my suit spun so fast they became a blur of orange light. The struggle lasted only seconds, but it felt like hours. When the light faded, I looked at my squad. We were still there. We were still flesh and blood. But the room around us was gone. The processor walls had turned into a fine, white sand that was blowing away in the wind. We were standing on a floating platform of glass in the middle of a neon storm. Sarah slammed the final override. The isotope anchor hummed to life. A massive, invisible pulse of magnetic stability erupted from the device. It didn't expand like fire, it expanded like a correction. As the pulse moved outward, the chaos stopped. The iridescent wave was pushed back, neutralized by the intense magnetic field. The shifting ground beneath us solidified. The melting mountains in the distance froze in their current, twisted shapes. The tide was still there, lurking on the horizon, but Krios 9 was anchored. The transmutation had been halted. I slumped against a jagged shard of what used to be a computer terminal, now a pillar of violet quartz. My anchor pack hissed as it cooled down, the orange glow fading to a dull amber. I pulled off my helmet, breathing in the air. It tasted like ozone and copper, but it was air. My lungs worked. My blood remained blood. Sound off, I rasped, my throat feeling like I had swallowed glass. Unit 4, still solid. Mostly. My boots are made of gold now, Cap. I think I am rich. Unit 6, still here. I never want to feel my molecules move like that again. Sarah, anchor is holding. The moon is stable. We looked out over the transformed landscape. Krios 9 was no longer a mining moon. It was a celestial jewel box, a world of crystal forests, liquid metal lakes, and neon skies. It was beautiful, and it was deadly, and it was a reminder that we were small. Humanity had proven the ultimate truth of the celestial void. The universe can rewrite the rules. It can change the very atoms we are made of. It can turn our history into a chemical reaction. But we are a stubborn species. We will anchor ourselves to the earth. We will hold our shape against the storm. We will be the one thing in the cosmos that refuses to change. The tide is held. The moon is anchored. We are the Isotope-Stabilizers, and we are still standing. The mission is over. We are going home. And we are taking our atoms with us.